You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to JoAnn Turnbull to talk about the difference between a service dog, an emotional support dog, and a therapy dog. Welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you. I'm happy to be back.
So do tell us, what is the difference between these type of dogs? And the titles they have, I guess I should say.
Yes. So a service dog, as the term is used by the Americans with Disability Act, is an animal, it has to be a dog, that is trained to do specific tasks directly related to the person's disability. They are the only type of dog that is allowed public access, meaning a person can take their dog into a restaurant or a store that's no pets allowed. And the reason they can do that, it's an accommodation for that person's disability. There also is a term called emotional support dog. And an emotional support dog, it's just the mere presence of that animal helps a person maybe with a psychological disability feel better. It may reduce their anxiety or their blood pressure. It may help with some depression. To have your dog deemed an emotional support animal, all that can help with is per the Fair Housing Act, where you could keep your dog in a no pets housing. You would ask for an accommodation for your disability, and for taking it on the airplane as an air carrier per the Air Carrier Access Act. So there's no public access for an emotional support animal. The big difference there is a service animal is trained to do specific tasks, where an emotional support animal is just the presence makes you feel better. Then there's also therapy dogs or therapy animals. And therapy animals, traditionally, I call them volunteer with your pet. Mm-hmm. So it's your own pet dog, and you want to volunteer by taking it to hospitals or hospice or read to a dog programs or stress breaks during finals at college campuses. So that's kind of a one-to-many relationship. You're taking your dog to bring joy and comfort and make others feel good in a place where pets traditionally are not allowed. They have no public access rights at all, nothing for a Fair Housing Act or the Air Carrier Access Act. So it's truly a volunteer with your pet scenario where you still have to get permission to take it into the hospital to visit people or take it into the library to do read to a dog program, things like that.
Okay, very interesting. This is Polly Requa, host of Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Today we're talking about Rover.com. Rover.com is our sponsor. Rover.com is the largest network of 5-star pet sitters and dog walkers in the United States. Rover.com offers in-home dog boarding, pet sitting, dog walking, and even doggy daycare. Rover.com has an app that allows you to search, book, favorite, and even pay. It's so easy. Our family is super busy. I have 2 girls in competitive sports. If I can't take the dogs to a sports event, I go on Rover.com and find a dog sitter. I can do a free meet and greet. I can review a detailed profile and review of the sitter. And every booking is insured. If you're a dog owner, you must check out Rover.com. Get $25 off your first booking by visit rover.com/vettalk. That's rover.com/VETTALK. And you will receive $25 off. Rover.com is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. When in need of a service to help you with your dog, use Rover.com. For $25 off your first booking, visit rover.com/vettalk. So there's been a few articles I've read where people are putting a jacket, or I'm not sure what do you call it when it's a service dog and it's wearing its.
People call them jackets, capes, vests.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people are putting those capes on a dog and they're really not certified. And there's been maulings where another dog has gone after another dog, and the service and even therapy dogs, because I've gone through that program through the Humane Society, the dog is trained to ignore other animals and focus on what its task is.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, have you seen, you're in the business, so have you seen some of that? And if you, what do you do about that if you do know that it's false?
Well, a big challenge right now is the way the ADA, which is overseen by the Department of Justice on a federal basis, is service animals are not required to be certified or have special ID. So it's kind of an honor system, so to speak. If a business doesn't think a dog is a legitimate service animal and it doesn't look obvious, all they can ask the person is your dog a service animal trained to help you with your disability, and what tasks is it trained to do? That's all they can ask. There's no certification required, no ID required. So people can easily, like you say, get a vest or a cape and that's a service dog or a patch and put it on their dog and take it in to no pets places. The challenge especially is when that dog is not well mannered, well trained, and if it goes after a legitimate service dog, there are dogs that have been hurt by dogs in public places that should not have been there. And then the dog either has to be retrained or it may need to be retired depending on, the severity of the attacks. And that affects the person then who has the disability and was relying on that dog to provide them the opportunity to have independence, to be able to go shop on their own, to be able to go do things that, a person without a disability, might be able to do on their own. So there's challenges. There's definitely challenges. There's also a lot of misinformation where people think an emotional support animal has public access rights. And in the federal law, they don't. It's only good for fair housing and the air carrier access. So there's, just honest confusion that people think, oh, my dog's been deemed an emotional support animal. I have a note from my mental health professional saying I'm undergoing treatment and this is how the dog helps me so I can take it wherever I go. And that is not the case if it's not trained to do specific tasks directly related to that disability.
Okay. Yeah, because I know one of my friends has an emotional support dog where he can have the dog on the plane.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily know that that's true. I mean, I think it's more for convenience of him, so I think that it's good that you're letting people know so that other people become aware of what the differences are.
Well, I think the airlines are starting to review their policies because a lot more people are claiming their animals are emotional support animals so they can take it on the plane for free versus paying a fee or having to put it in the, underneath in the special air controlled carrier part. And so I think they are starting to, several airlines, Delta and United recently have put out articles that I believe in March they're going to start requiring people send formal documentation maybe 48 hours in advance of a flight versus just showing up at the airport with a letter from their mental health provider. So it's because it is, it's challenging. There recently a person was trying to take a peacock on as her emotional support peacock.
Yeah, I saw that. Well, very interesting. And thank you for being on the podcast. It's a great topic, and I would love to have you back, especially about your service dogs that you're training and what's going on with Handi-Dogs.
That would be great. We'd love to talk too, and there's more time to talk about, just service dog etiquette in public as well.
Oh, that would be a good topic. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to having you back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.